everyone, my name is Jenna, but you guys can call me Jen, and welcome back to my channel. Welcome to my August wrap-up. This wasn't my most read month for sure. Where is my little thing here? Actually, we're pretty damn close. If I finish one more book, because today is August 29th, so there is still 2 days left in August, and I do plan on reading one more book at least. Probably just one more book because I'm not a superhuman and I can't read that much. Then it'll be tied with February where I read 14 books. So currently in August I have read 13 books and DNF'd one. So let's just get into this. So this month overall has been pretty decent. I had a really super fun readathon that I took part in. It was the Diversify That Shelf readathon. I will leave it linked on the screen if you want to go watch that. It was great. I ended up reading 6 books in 9 days and half of another book, or like a part of another book, which is very exciting. 13 books and only 3 of them were 5 stars, but 2 of those were rereads. So everything else has been like floating between the 3 and the 4.5 range. So pretty good reading month, if I don't say so myself. But before we dive into August, I just wanted to mention one book that I didn't get to mention in my July wrap-up because I read it after the end of my July wrap-up in the last like 2 days of July, and that is Take a Hint, Danny Brown by Talia Hibbert. I ended up giving this one 4.5 stars. This is the companion novel to Get a Life, Chloe Brown, which is my favorite romance novel of all time, and I absolutely loved this one too. We read this for our lovely ladies book club this in July, and so I will leave our live stream down below because we've already had it and it was a great time. So go watch that if you want to hear all of our spoilery thoughts. Alright, so let's just get into August, shall we? I need a drink. We'll start with the DNF because I was reading it through July into August as well, and I got just close to the halfway mark, and I made the decision, the executive decision, to DNF it officially because I just wasn't interested in it. I just didn't want to read it, and it is for a video that I'm currently filming, that I've been filming since the middle of July, and I really wanted to have it up within like a few weeks, but this book has set me so far back on that video. It's fine though, it's fine. We just moved on to different books for that video anyways. But yes, that is The Library of the Unwritten by A.J. Hackworth. This concept is so cool. It is about a library in hell where all the work, like all the unfinished work of various authors in the world lives, and like it's about the librarian who runs this library, and it's got like angels in it and this like fragment of a text that was written by Lucifer himself. Like, it has such a cool concept, but I was just so bored, and I've heard so many people like talk about this one recently and nobody really likes it that much, so I was just like, okay, cool, I'm valid, I'm going to officially DNF it. So second DNF of 2020, you guys. This one. Let's get into the books that I actually read. So the very first one that I read in August was, I believe I just finished it in August because I started reading it in July, but that was Magnus Chase and the Sword of Summer. That's not how it goes. It's The Sword of Summer is the book's name, and the series name is Magnus Chase and the Gods of Asgard. So the first Magnus Chase book by Rick Riordan. I enjoyed this very much. I gave it 4 stars. It is about Magnus Chase, who is Annabeth Chase's cousin. Magnus starts off this book as a homeless youth, and he gets basically chased down by this giant flaming demon guy, and he dies at the beginning of this book and is sent to Hotel Valhalla, and it goes from there. It's great. It follows Norse mythology and all that, and it starts after the events of the last Heroes of Olympus book. So just like, there's not really that much mentioned in it. Just Annabeth and Percy are going to be in this trilogy a little bit more, I do believe, in the next few books. So be wary if you want to read this one without reading the other ones. be wary. But it was really good. All right, the next one I read was Sarah Sutton's What Are Friends For? If you guys don't know, Sarah Sutton is my friend here on YouTube. She has 2 YA romances out and a 3rd one coming in October that I have read as well, but that one doesn't count because there's no Goodreads page for it and I proofread it, so like, whatever. But this I ended up giving 5 stars because it was so wonderfully perfect. I just adored every second of it. It is a friends to lovers romance. So it all starts when Remy one day goes to a party and she's locked in a room for like, I believe it's like 7 minutes in heaven. Yeah, a blindfolded kissing game. I believe it's 7 minutes in heaven. And she thinks she's kissing her crush and the boy that she's kissing thinks it's his girlfriend. And then she finds out that the boy she's kissing is actually her best friend, Elijah. And it's the best kiss she's ever had in her entire life. And it unlocks all these feelings, and for the rest of the book she's like juggling with them and then doing all this stuff. It is so wonderful. It has such a lovely tone to it, and it's just so good. Read it, please. It's so good. I'm so excited to read her next ones. Oh my god. The next one is actually another reread. Wow, I have like 3 rereads. 1, 2, 3. There are 3 rereads. 3 rereads this month. Wow. Okay, so this one was a reread because I was going to read the second one for the readathon, Diversify That Shelf, and that is Rusha and the End of Time by Roshani Chokshi. I gave this one 4 stars, and the first time I read it, I believe I gave it 3.5, so I did enjoy it more the second time. This is a story based on Hindu mythology where Aru one day, she accidentally wakes the sleeper from a lamp and he freezes time. And so she has to basically save the day on a quest with her soul sister, Minnie, because all of them are the descendants of the Pandavas, and it's a really good time, and the characters are really cool and really cute. And then for that readathon, it's not quite the next book that I read, but I'll talk about it anyway. I read the second one, Rusha and the Song of Death. This one I gave 3.5, 3.75, 3.5 stars. These are really good. They're just not my favorite middle grade. There's something about them. I don't know. But yeah, so the second one follows the series and you get to meet another Pandava sister and you go on another quest to save the day and you have another timeline type thing. So, you know, they're good. They're cute. Alright, so since we're talking about the books that I read for that readathon, that wasn't the first one I read for the readathon. The first one that I read was The Rage of Dragons by Evan Winter. This I ended up giving 4 stars because it was very good, very well written, but there are a few issues with it. And the first thing I will say is that if you are interested in this book, please be aware it is so heavily war focused. The middle of this book is all training and combat. So if you don't like that, steer clear, because that is all this book. That is literally all it is war, training, camps, that kind of stuff. And so the middle kind of sagged a little bit, but it was still good and engaging, and the story was really gripping and action-packed. There's another issue that actually I didn't realize until after I had read it and gave it more thought, and that this book is from the point of view of the colonizers. And so these people, they're the chosen. And like we follow Tao, who is our main character. And Tao is part of the lower caste in this community of people. And so you have a lot of class issues and classism in this, which is a really interesting conversation. And then, but this community of people that he's part of came to this world like 200 years prior, like sailed to these shores, and because they thought they were so great, they were the chosen, whatever, they have been locked in this war with the natives of this land who originally lived there, and it was their land since they arrived. And there's no commentary on that at all, because the colonizers are seen as the good guys in this. So I am wary about that, going into the next one. I'm really hoping that it comes into the narrative, because in this you get introduced to a character who is from that other side. He gets brought in through a marriage of some kind, and so I'm hoping that because this is so centered on Tao and his military and his revenge, that at the end of this, we open up a little bit and we see the broader political issues, and we see how Tao is now going to be a part of this as a pawn. So I'm hoping in the second book it opens up even more and we have that discussion and we have the people realize that they're not the good guys, but hopefully that is the only real big thing that I've come out of this with. But yeah, so it is about Tao, who doesn't really want to be part of this war, but in their world, that is all you really do. As a man, you get drafted, and it depends on what level of blood you are. So if you are a noble, you're going to be in the higher levels and you can do more stuff. Tao, something happens to him and it changes his life forever, and so he's set on a revenge path for the rest of this book. So it was good. The next book I picked up for that readathon, I picked up The Fifth Season by N.K. Jemisin. This book was so good. I ended up giving this one 4.5 stars because I tried to read it previously, if you guys remember, and I got to like the 150 page mark and I put it down because I just wasn't that interested. And so I picked it back up with the audiobook for this readathon, and I got back into it and I just adored it. It is such a masterpiece of storytelling that I honestly still thinking about it, and I cannot wait to read the next few when I can. Oh, it's gonna be so good, but I don't even know how to explain it. It is a world where the earth has many different seasons. It is very unstable, and there are people in this world who are called Orogenes, and they can control the earth and like keep it still or like stop it from doing a lot of damage. But they are hated by like everybody, and they are part of a group called the Fulcrum. If they are trained properly, become part of the Fulcrum, and then they are hired out to thus keep the world in control. And every so often a season will hit that's called the fifth season, and that's what happens at the beginning of this book. So it starts, a season of endings has begun. It starts with the great red rift across the heart of the world's sole continent, spewing ash that blots out the sun. It starts with death, a murdered son and a missing daughter. It starts with betrayal and long dormant wounds rising up to fester. This is the stillness, a land familiar with catastrophe, where the power of the earth is wielded as a weapon, and there is no mercy. So it is so good. So go watch my vlog to hear more about it, because I go into depth and like explain it a little better than I am now, but oh, so good. The next book I read was a ebook, and it is Felix Ever After by Case and Calendar. I didn't really love this book a whole lot, and I feel so bad saying that because so many people absolutely adore it. It just didn't vibe with me, which is so weird because the characters were great, the plot was great, the writing was really well crafted. It was just, I don't know what, the story just didn't vibe with me. And so I gave it like 3 stars. It just, I don't know what it was, to be honest. I'm glad I read it, and I think so many people, if not everybody, should read it because it is incredibly important and it deals with really sensitive subjects really well. So it is about a trans boy named Felix and his learning to love himself and learning to love others. There is a lot of transphobia and blatant like hatred in this book directed at Felix. So I will warn you of that. There is dead naming, and at the beginning of this book, a gallery of photos of Felix before he transitioned put up around his school attached to his dead name. There's a lot of pain in this book, and it deals with identity, but there's also a lot of love and hope in this book. there's like a love triangle, sort of. There's like hate to love and friends to lovers, sort of. Like there's a lot of tropes played with for romance in here. And like the ending is super happy and bright and loving. But yeah, I just didn't enjoy it a whole lot. But if you guys want to read it, please do. The next book I read for that same readathon was Such a Fun Age by Kylie Reid. This was an audiobook that I ended up picking up through my library on the Libby app, and I decided just to include it in this readathon. It wasn't on my original TBR for this readathon, but I decided to include it anyways because I was listening to it and it was by a Black author. So I was like, great, this works. And I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. It was so dramatic and so funny, and I really want to reread it one day physically because I feel like this book just has so many layers to it that like I will really get to dive into rereading it. And it was just, it was so enjoyable, so funny, and so poignant, and it has so much to say about performative allyship, and it deals with these, like, with Amira, who at the beginning of this book is accused of stealing her boss's child because she's a babysitter for this white family. And she takes the daughter of the family to a superstore or to a shopping center or something right at the beginning of the book. And it's like later at night. Amira's not dressed as like she usually is when she's babysitting Briar because it's like an emergency type situation, and then she gets accused of stealing Briar and it's caught on tape, and it's just this whole thing, and it's so good and everybody needs to read it. I can't wait to reread that book. It's so good. And then I read Rusha after that and The Song of Death, but the next one that I read was Love from A to Z by S.K. Ali. I ended up giving this one 4 stars. Again, it was just so good. This contemporary is another hard-hitting one. It deals with Islamophobia, racism, MS, death, all that kind of stuff. So we have Zainab, who is an angry hijabi, but not at all. She is angry for the right reasons, and she is just fabulous. And at the beginning of this book, she gets suspended for calling out her teacher for being an Islamophobe. And so she goes on her trip that she was going to go on spring break early. And she goes to Doha, Qatar, where her aunt lives. And on her way there, she meets Adam, who is coming home from university from London. And he's got big news for his family. He lost his mom when he was about 9, I believe. He was 9, to MS. And he has just been diagnosed with MS. But he doesn't want to tell his dad because his dad went through so much when his mom died. And they meet on the plane, and then it's like kind of like an interest at first sight type of thing, and then they end up meeting later as well because they're connected through her aunt and his father and like all this kind of stuff. And they fall in love, and they deal with so much stuff as well, and it's just such a precious love story, but so important, and I loved every second of it, and I cried like 3 times reading this. Was so good. And the next one was another reread. So I ended up rereading Anne of Green Gables this month. I started it before my readathon and finished it afterwards, and I just adored every second of it. I ended up giving this one 5 stars. If you don't know, this is a Canadian classic about a little girl named Anne who gets adopted by Marilla and Matthew Cuthbert and goes to live at Green Gables, which is a little East Coast house in PEI, and it's just wonderful. I loved it so much. The next one was a book that I was asked by the author to read and review, and it is called Someone's Story by B.A. Bellick, and this one I'm only giving 2 stars. I really didn't enjoy it that much. I ended up skimming halfway through. It's a YA contemporary that has a very mature tone to it. The writing style is a little bizarre to me, and it's formatted a little bit differently. And it deals with anxiety and all that, and it's called Someone's Story because our main character just goes by someone. So it could be anybody's story, really. So it's a unique concept, and I think if you guys are interested, go read it, but didn't really enjoy it myself. The next one is also a reread. I ended up finishing my Sense and Sensibility reread this month. I started it back in June, I want to say. So I ended up finishing the last like good chunk of it this month. I just powered through it and I enjoyed it so much. I'm giving this one 5 stars, and I'm like kind of organizing my Jane Austen reads in my head now because I'm going to be doing a Jane Austen rating video once I reread Emma and Northanger Abbey. But this was one of those ones that I had to reread to do that video, so exciting. And the last book that I read in August so far is Tilly and the Book Wanderers by Anna James. This is such a delightful little middle grade. I adored this book so much. It is about 11-year-old Tilly who lives with her grandparents in their bookshop that they own called Pages & Co. And one day she sees her favorite characters from her favorite books come to life. And she finds out that she has the ability to book wander, which means she can go into stories and she can pull characters out, which is so cool. This is just a literary hug and I love it so much. I just adore it so much. Anyways, guys, this has been kind of a long wrap up, so I'm gonna leave my TBR to a different video. So stay tuned for that. It should be going up within the next 24 hours that you see this. If not before or after, don't really know, but it will be coming. So definitely watch out for my September TBR. And I guess I should mention the one book that I'm probably also going to finish, which is The Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard. I plan on finishing it in the next 2 days anyways because it's a super fast read and I'm really enjoying it. So this one probably also will be part of my 13 books that I read in August. But yes, thank you so much for watching. I really hope to catch you in another video soon. Stay kind and keep on reading.